recently I changed something on my website, and that is I replaced all my forms to use GET requests. And I replaced the software I was using to handle the, well, back when there were POST requests, to handle those with a simple shell script. And this is what I'm going to show you in this video. So I replaced this form, so the newsletter form, and also the contact form with the shell script. So let me first show you in practice how it works. So let me first show you the shell script, and I will go through this and explain what each of these lines does. But first, let me show you the result. So if I run this, let's, for example, run the contact form. I just run this in the background on my server, but here I will, of course, do it on my local machine. And then insert some data here, for example, some test email, and then hello there, some message, and then send this. It will now say your message was sent successfully, and it will, as you can see in your browser, it will use a GET request, and it will request this contact form site or page with these parameters we put in. Now, this shell script doesn't actually give you any output, but if I now quit this, and if I look at the contact form directory, which the shell script has created, I see these two files. So this core file is for the current thing the shell script does, but this is not relevant now. But if I cat out this other file here, and this is of course a timestamp, you will see the data we just put in. So the email is set to hello at it's set to test@test.test, and the message is hello there. And this now works with any number of parameters, so any number of like input fields, and also with any data. So this will also, for example, if I input, let me run this again, and let me input some news lines, wow. And let me send this again. And if I now ls the contact form again, you will see there's now a new entry. And if I cat that out, we will see the message we put in as is. So yeah, no data is getting lost. So this is actually a lot nicer than the solution I had before, because before I was running a separate web server in the background. So I use Caddy as my reverse proxy, as my normal web server to serve my site, and also to serve this local copy of my site I have here. But additionally, I had programmed a web server using Spiffy and Chicken Scheme, and it was kind of well and fine and good. But one day I changed something and I didn't test it correctly, and because of the nature of POST requests, so POST requests don't get logged unlike GET requests, and my web server wasn't running correctly, wasn't logging correctly, I had lost some data, some user data. So that's when I decided, okay, there has to be a better way. And this is kind of what I came up with. All right. So this is again all that's running here, and I kind of want to go through this. So first up, one condition for all of this is that you have a web server and that it is logging correctly. And I'm using Caddy, so this whole shell script is kind of Caddy specific, or for the Caddy syntax. So, and how you can set this up with Caddy is if I open up my configuration file for it. So this is the Caddy configuration file for my website, and there's a bunch of legacy stuff here that's not really relevant. The only relevant part is this one right here, so on port 9099, and these two lines are commented out, so these are old paths. So this is just normal Caddy stuff. Okay, our root is here. Okay, try to have to complete URIs with .html. Then we want the whole thing to be a file browser, but without browse, a file server, but without browse. And then this thing is relevant for logging. So we want a normal log output to this file. So this file is the file in the script. Yeah, obviously. All right. So I'm going to go through this one by one, and I'm going to explain what each of these do. So, I mean, the first line is kind of obvious. Okay, if the contact form directory doesn't exist, create it. This while loop I will get to later on. Let's first look at the actual thing which is running here. So tail just tails this log file. So if I copy this out and copy this to, let me clean this. So if I now paste this into my terminal and run it, we will first not see any output, but if there are now if there's new content in this log file, it will get put out to it will get output to standard out, is what I want to say. So this is what this F flag does. So it's F stands for follow, and this N0 basically says, well, don't give us any output at first. So if there is no N0 present, or if this N parameter is anything other than 0, so anything greater than 0, it will output that number of lines that are present in this file already, and it will output the last number of lines because we are using tail. So if I now go to the browser again, and if you try this out, you kind of have to be careful with like browser caching, because if I noticed that if I, for example, go to a site I've been previously and it's cached in the browser, it will of course not show up in the log. So yeah, be careful with that if you try this out. So if I now enter again some data here and click send, again, so we don't see any output here, but if I hard reload this with, or if I think normal reload works as well. Yeah, so if I normally reload this with Control R, we now see the actual request, because yeah, Chromium just optimizes so hard that sometimes it uses cached requests or cached pages. All right, so here we now see this request, and we also see the contact thing here. So this is the URI, and this is the same as in the browser. So yeah, as you can see, so it's logged. All right, so that's what this line does. Next, we use grep to grep only for this part, because we don't really care about all this noise here, and there's a lot of stuff, and we don't really care about that. We only care about the data. So let's copy this, and let's run it with this, and let's remove this at first. I will show you in a second, or I will tell you in a second what this M1 does, but let's only run it with this. So this O parameter says only, so we only care about this stuff right here, because if we don't have this, so let's run it without it, and let's hard reload that again, we see that we see the same thing, because grep will show us the entire line it has matched. But if we run this grep with O and hard reload our browser again, we will now only see this URI thing. So URI and then all of this stuff. And I mean this grep, if you don't know regex that well. So URI, so this is like literal, we want to literally match this. But this part back here, so this is now a regular expression. So what the star says is, well, let's do it from front to back. So these angle brackets basically say, okay, so we want to match some different characters, so not only one character, but different ones. And this caret now says, okay, we want to match everything except the following. And this quote is the following. So we want to match anything or everything except a quote, because this quote terminates this thing. So it's the last thing in this regex, in this regular expression. And the star now says, okay, for the thing that came before me, so this right here, match it as often as you want. So 0 or more times. So what it says is, what we basically say here is, okay, we want contact form, question mark, and then anything that's not a quote until the next quote. So, and that will get you, if you look up here, this is exactly the format we need. All right, so now we have this thing right here, and this will include all of our data. So if we go back here and enter more lines, wow, cool, it will include all of this stuff. So yeah, as you can see, all of the stuff is here, and all the new lines and spaces and all the stuff will get encoded. And we will remove this encoding in a second. So let's keep on going through this. So the next up we have a set command. So this set command is just to clean up this mess, because this is still very messy. I mean, we don't care about URI, we also don't care about contact form, because this is the same every time. So we want to remove this. So let's remove it. Let's reload the browser. And hello. Okay, so apparently this doesn't work like this. I haven't tested it out that far. So I now want to get into the whole while loop thing, because that has to do with that. So this command doesn't give us any output, even though there should be output there, because I have reloaded the page. I hard reloaded it. So what is going on here. So set doesn't give us any output because it is expecting more output from this grep command. So it is waiting for more output to complete the substitution command. So if we look at the script, this is actually not what I'm running exactly. I am running this within -m1. And this is very relevant now, because what -m1 says is, or what it tells grep to do, is only match until the first, like only match one match. Like only match the first line. Or only give us the first line that matches. This is how I should say it. So if we run it like this, and I hard reload this page again, we will actually see some output. And we will see the output cleaned as we want to have it with this set command. So we remove this URI and the contact form thing, and we replace the last quote. So the $ means end of line. So the quote at the end of the line, we substitute it. So that's what we say with S, by a new line, and then followed by these kind of dashes. So this is the reason why there's a new line at the end and then the dashes. Yeah, pretty good. Oh, it's pretty simple so far, I think. So, and this is the reason, if I go back to the script, why this whole thing is wrapped in a while true loop, because this entire block only runs for one line. And I mean, all of this makes sense because you of course want to have different requests in different files. So we will output this whole thing to a file in the end and then move that file to our timestamp, as I showed you in the beginning. But I will show you in a second how it works. So we only want to think about one line at a time. And once we're done with this line, we want to continue reading the next line. So, I mean, is this the most efficient way to do it? Well, no, maybe not. Because we start the tail command every time, and we run this whole thing every time for each new line. But I mean, it's a shell script. It's running on a server. Like it's, I mean, it's fine. It's not that the performance is not that relevant in this case. So, all right, but let's remove this again, and let's keep on going through it. So next up we have a tr, a trim command, and I'm not sure if I could actually do this with set as well, but we want to replace these ampersigns with new lines, because ampersigns separate our different parameters. So our different request param or input parameters rather, or input fields rather. So this is the first input field. So this, if I go to the browser, of course corresponds to this field. I mean, that's the email field, input field. And the second one is then the second one after this ampersand. So we want to have these on new lines. So let's send this again, and we need to hard reload, of course. And now we have these on two separate lines, which is how we want it, or how I want it for the script. All right. Next up, we again do some set stuff, and I could probably put these two set commands together, but I haven't bothered because I have. Yeah, I will show you in a second. So let's pipe it into this new set command, or this next set command, and this will, let me first show you what it does. So let's reload this again, and this will now put the parameter name on a separate line, and also put it in these kind of highlighted with these equal signs. So 3 equals before and 3 equals after, and then the data is on a new line, and the same for message, of course. And if we look at this, let me think, how can I show this better? So yeah, like this. So if we look at the set command, and maybe I should make this bigger. Let's look what's going on here. So we call set, because this is a bit cryptic, right? So we call set, then we call substitute again. So we want to substitute some stuff. Then this first part between this slash and this slash, this is what we want to substitute, and this second part between this forward slash and this forward slash is what we want to substitute it with. So this caret, if this caret is not inside angle brackets, as it is here, it means beginning of the line. So we want to look for the beginning of the line. We want to match everything that is not an equal sign. So ignore these parentheses for a second. So we want to match everything that is not an equal sign. So if we, yeah, let's look at this again. So let's do like this. Let's reload this again. So we have these here the equal signs, and these just say, well, this is the parameter name, and this is the key, and this is the value, right? So we want to match this whole thing. So this thing right here is this thing, and then it gets, of course, terminated by a equal sign, right? And now what these parentheses do is they basically say, well, we want to use this in the thing we want to substitute it with. So this is basically a match, and these don't get matched literally. Like there are no parentheses here which get matched, but these are again just for set. And so this is relevant now because what we replace this thing right here with is, okay, 3 equal signs, then at the end also 3 equal signs, and then a new line. But in between, this \1 basically says, and important here is also that you backslash these parentheses, otherwise it doesn't work. It will look for literal parentheses, I think. So this \1 says the first match. Replace this thing, this \1, with the first match. So if we go in here and then, for example, had something else we wanted to match, like, I don't know, something else, this would then be the second match, and we could access this in our substitution with \2, right? So that's how this works. And if we now run this again and reload this, we see, okay, so the email equals thing gets replaced by equals, then email equals, and then new line. And this new line right here is this one right here. And we, of course, also want to apply this globally. So we don't only want to apply it to the first part of the line or the first line or something, but we want to, well, this is actually not needed now that I think about it, now that I say it out loud. But yeah, so I guess this is not needed, but because globally means if there are more than 1 matches in a line, it will apply to all of them. But since we have already separated these lines with the tr command, so these are already on separate lines, we don't technically need this, I guess. But it works as it is. I'm not going to change it. All right. So next up is another set command, and this is not in the same format as the other ones, because this one I have copied off the internet. So for some reason it uses @ as separators instead of like /. So this may seem a bit cryptic, but don't worry, it's fine. But I haven't tested it with replacing these @ with /. So again, I'm just gonna keep it at this. So again, we want to substitute, and now we want to substitute the plus sign by a space, because that is how UI encoding kind of encodes spaces. And we also want to substitute the % sign with \x. And we, of course, want to apply these substitutions globally. So let's first look again at what we have so far. So far we have this output right here. As you can see, there are these plus signs, and these are there instead of spaces. So if we look back to our output, to our input, you can see here are spaces between this hello and this there, and they get encoded as plus signs. And then everything that is not like alphanumeric or space or something gets encoded as like with these % things. I don't know what this encoding is actually called. I think maybe like byte encoding, because these are the bytes. But yes, so for example, 0D, 0A, 0D, 0A. So 0D, 0A is a new line. So yeah, that's what that does. And if you had like Unicode characters, these would also get encoded that way. Or other characters. For example, if you had like /, I think these should also get, I mean, we can try this out. Why not? Yeah, let's have a / here. Let's send this again. Oh, and it's not going to do anything because the script wasn't running. So yeah, so this / gets encoded as 2f. So that's the byte for the /. And now if we, where is it? Yeah, this, and then we want to also have this. If we now run this, let's first clear the screen, and now reload this, you see that our output now looks differently. What was first encoded, or what was before encoded as %40 for the @ sign, is now encoded as \x40. And why only one backslash? Because set interprets the, like you need to, for set, you need to escape the backslash itself to insert a backslash, if that makes sense. So yeah, you need to escape it, and this will just replace it with backslash x. So yeah. And these bytes are now encoded as like backslash x bytes. So this is now a bit nicer, not for us to read, of course, but for the computer, because finally we will now pipe this into xargs and printf. And what this will do, it will apply printf to the whole string. And printf with the %b, which I think is for like translating byte encoded strings. So let's just do that. So we pipe it into xargs. 0 is for, I think, 0 terminated strings, so 0 byte terminated strings. And then we want to call printf and then the %b. So this kind of, I think, is the same as if we were to call printf with the %b string and then our input string afterwards. So, well, let's actually test this out. So why not? Let's printf, then %b, just to understand how it works, and then, for example, this test thing right here. So if I can spell printf correctly. So let's run this again. So as you can see, the \x40 now gets translated to its correct string equivalent. So this takes the string and replaces all the byte encoded bytes. So, and we call it with xargs because we want to have this output which gets input into the xargs command as the last parameter to this printf, just as we had it just now. So yeah, I mean, we can also do that. xargs. So let's do it like this, and let's copy this and just echo it. And this should now also work. Nice. And we even have a new line here because echo adds a new line. So yeah, that's how it works. Let's call it. Let's go back to the browser. Let's hard reload. And you see now everything as we input it, as I want to say. That's what I want to say. So this is now the exact input we specified in the browser. So it's the same. And it's also, well, I mean, nicely formatted. Well, we can debate that, of course, but it is formatted. So it's clear, okay, what's the key, what's the input field, and what's the value, and where's the end to this whole request. So yeah, that's how the script works. And again, yeah, I also already mentioned the while thing. At the end, what we do is we simply output this whole string. We output it to this contact form /cur file. Why that? Like, why do that? Because the reason is quite simple. Because if I now run this, or let's call it tempcur or whatever. If I now run this, this will instantly create the file. So let me run this. Let me open up a new terminal. Let me go to this directory and let me ls, and you will see this tempcur file. And if I lsl it, it's an empty file, but it has already been created. So we do it like that because if you start this command, maybe for some time, well, probably for some time, there won't be any requests. And this is kind of a problem. So what I first tried to do is I first tried to have it for like, let me, how should I do this? Yeah, let me just do it like that. I had it like this. So I had it echo this whole thing into the final file where I wanted it to be right from the start without this move thing. But this didn't work because it would create the timestamp when the command started running. I hope you know what I mean. And that's of course not what you want to have. You want to have the timestamp be you want the timestamp correspond to the request when it was sent. So yeah, I kind of came up with this kind of structure where I just output it to some temporary file, and then once this command is done, I then move this file to its final destination. So this last line only runs when there is something, like when this command is finished. So yeah, so let's request this again. And if I now hard reload this again, we see the command is now finished, and in this tempcur file there is now the output we have seen before. So we can now, after this, move it to something else. I don't know. Something else. I mean, this is the part where I mean, we can also do this, I guess. Let's just copy the script as is. So let's do it like this: contact form cur, and then move. We want to move this contact form cur file to to contact form, and then we call date with the format string. So this just formats as a normal year, month, day, and then hour, minute, second string. So let's do it like that, and let's hard reload this, and the thing is finished. And if we now lsl the contact form directory, we see there's a new file, and let's cat that out, and we see there's the output or the string we input in the browser. So yeah, that's how it works. And now, of course, we can loop this whole thing. So let's just do while true, do, and then done. So this will now loop forever. And yeah, just do exactly what you want to have with a contact form. So yeah, I think it's clear how this works now. So yeah, we see there's our output. And I just canceled with Control-C, so yeah, that's why it's not running anymore, but this would run forever. And again, what's nice about this is that this script is not required to run for you to have all your data, because it's all in this it's all in this var log caddy log file. It's all in there. And even if it's not running, like, you don't lose any data, because your web server just logs it. So yeah, that's how it works. That's why I use it now, and it has been so far very, very nice. Yeah, I have not had any problems with it. One thing I noticed though, while I was now recording this video, is browser caching. So that might be a problem. I might look into that, so that that for the contact form site, so for the page it actually requests, so this one right here, there's some browser, or there's some web server heading that tells the browser don't cache this site. Maybe I'll look into that. But yeah, so far it has been, like, it has worked very well. All right, so that's it. That's the script. As always, I encourage you to write your own stuff, but you can copy parts of this, of course, or use it as is for your own website if you use Caddy as well, or you can adapt it to any other log format, of course. And yeah, that's it. Have a nice day.